Hi, everyone. This is Marilyn Bradford, and I would like to welcome you to my Left Turn podcast. What is your left turn? Writing a blog, parenting in a different way, letting go of the old because you are aware of something greater. Left turns are choices we can all make. It's about a willingness to step into the unknown in any area of your life, to trust yourself, to risk creating or trying something new. It's about letting your true uniqueness shine. The greatest people who have lived, artists, statesmen, writers, explorers, musicians, have all been people willing to turn left. What capacities do you have that you have not acknowledged? What would your life and the world be like if you were willing to turn left? Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Left Turn Podcast. I have today an amazing guest, Amanda Anderson. I read her bio and I was like, wow. We could take up the whole podcast if I read her bio out loud. It's very, very amazing. But currently, she is a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness, does amazing work with photography, works with Access, travels. She's had a very interesting life with family companies and doing other things and creating businesses and entrepreneurships. So welcome, Amanda.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, so when we're looking at your life's biggest left turns, or the ones that had the most impact for you, what were some of those?
Oh, well, the first one that comes to mind is when I discovered Access Consciousness, basically, which was now almost 10 years ago. And I was I grew up in a family business that my grandparents started back in the 60s, and my mom and my uncle took over in the beginning of the 90s. And then my mom has been running it for 20 years or something like that. Not anymore, now she's retired. So me and my brother Victor, we were taking care of part of that family business, and it was a very challenging business. It had to do with people with different disabilities, and we were giving them personal assistance and stuff like that. And at when we were at the biggest, we had over 100 employees, so it was quite a big company. Well, everything is relative, yes. But I was 24 when we were doing that. Well, from 24 to 28. And when I discovered Access Consciousness and I started using the tools, and I also quite quickly started working with Access Consciousness. From the beginning, I was part of the stream team. That's when I started to get this awareness of like, I don't think I want to keep doing this family business thing. And it was such a cool, sometimes, in my experience, at least with these left turn choices in my life, is that it's almost like it's just kind of like this happening now.
Yes, exactly. It's not like lightning bolts from the sky.
No, exactly. And it's, that choice didn't come from like sitting down and thinking it through and, doing list of pros and cons or whatever it is that people do before they make a choice. It was literally just like waking up one day and like, well, this doesn't work anymore. I have to do something different. So me and my brother, thankfully, were on the same page because he had also just started discovering Access. So we just looked at each other. I still remember it. We were out walking and we just looked at each other like, maybe we should just stop. Like, wow. Maybe we could just stop. And before that moment, like it almost felt not impossible, but it felt like such a big choice of like, whoa, how would we do that? And it felt like this complicated process, which of course everybody told us, all of the lawyers and all of the financial advisors. They're like, oh, but it's going to take a while to disassemble this company and da. We were like, oh yeah, what else is possible? It took us like two months or something, and then we were done with like total ease. So yeah, that's definitely one of the big left turns in my life so far.
Did you get a lot of pushback about that? from your family or people you knew, or?
Not as much as one would think. Like, thankfully, our mom is very, very supportive and also uses the tools of access, so that helps.
Yes.
So she has always been very like, hey, I just want you guys to be happy. So when we kind of came to her with this awareness of like, I don't, we don't want to do this anymore. She was, of course, she was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a bit of a process, and let's, but she was very, very supportive of that because she just wanted us to do what we actually wanted to do.
That's amazing. And
Yeah,
how wonderful for you all to have that family support, because
yeah,
it doesn't always work out that way. A lot of
definitely.
times, yeah, people do experience pushback or judgment or all things like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think we were aware of that kind of judgment from, people in general,
mhm.
from people in the company, like employees, but also, more distant family members maybe, and,
Yes.
friends and stuff like that. There was kind of this sense of that people are like, what are you guys doing? Like, you have, because in everybody's point of view, me and my brother got it all served on a silver platter, but
Right.
they didn't see all of the work that was behind it, of course. But I think a lot of people had their points of views of like, why would you give this up?
Yes. Yes.
So,
It's a sure thing. You're set for life, all that kind of.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other left turns have you experienced? Not experienced, I'm sorry, chosen.
Um, well, another a little bit more recent left turn was just about a year ago when I chose to get divorced.
Uh-huh.
I think that's also one of those, and it had that same kind of sense to it. It didn't come from, oh my God, everything is terrible and I have to choose something different. It was literally just this awareness of something greater. And there as well, I think a lot of people were like, what? Because, a lot of people they thought that, oh, Amanda and Andrea, they're going to be together forever and it's this
Right.
perfect marriage and blah, blah, blah. And not that it wasn't good, it was amazing in many ways. But, sometimes you just get this awareness of like, oh, something else is required now or something else is available now.
Yes.
So that was definitely a big choice and a big left turn that has
That
changed a
is.
lot.
Yeah. How has your life changed since then?
Oh yeah. Well, it has changed in the way it might not be so visibly different.
Uh-huh.
Like I still live in the same apartment, etc. But like with me, with myself, it's very different. It was one of those choices that allowed me and kind of pushed me a little bit to get closer to me,
Yes.
somehow.
Hmm.
I remember last New Year's Eve, I was on my own here at home with my dog, and that was something that I before would have had so many points of views about and be like, oh no, that's so sad, and I can't be alone on New Year's Eve and da da da. But I was just sitting there like, well, this is pretty amazing. Like, I can actually enjoy and relax in my own company.
Yes.
So that has been a big change of getting closer to myself.
I'm going to pursue this a little bit more. I just have the sense of you have a lot to offer in all of these left turns. But in this, if someone came to you and said, Amanda, I'm considering getting a divorce, which would be against my family and everybody else, what would you say to them?
Yeah. Um, hmm. I would probably just ask, say to them to ask a lot of questions
Yeah.
and to, keep asking, what will this actually create? Like, what will my life be like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Because I think with whether that is, running a business or being in a relationship or a marriage, we very rarely look like far into the future. It's
Yes.
very often this like, oh, but this is good now. Like, I'm
Yes.
happy now, I'm comfortable now. But this like awareness of a future, like a long distance future, that is something, for me at least, that has been and still is kind of a muscle to keep building, of actually being willing to be
Yes.
aware of what will this actually create, not just tomorrow, but also 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Because, a divorce can feel really like, oh, that's a lot of work, which it can be.
Mhm.
It's a lot of things to be taken care of, and whether you live together or have kids together or whatever, like that is. But if you are willing to kind of look beyond the first month or the first year even, and like, okay, so what will my life actually be like in 10 years from now if I choose this? And then kind of see what happens in your system. Like, does it give you this expansion of lightness and excitement, or does it feel heavy, which is kind of this compass that we all have, but that we're not very taught to actually use.
Thank you for that. I think that's just amazing. And I'm sure it's going to be helpful for a number of people because, as you said in the beginning, it wasn't like the marriage was terrible, but you had an awareness and you asked questions, and it was about the future, your future,
Mm.
versus I think some people do divorce through resistance and reaction or trauma drama or anything like that. Any action we take, if we ask, well, if I choose this, what will my life be like in 5 years and 10 years, is so different from being in that, well, I'm doing this and I'm going to, all that. So anyway, thank you very much. I think people will find that really,
Awesome.
really helpful.
Thank
And it's
you.
got such a lightness and kind of a cheerfulness to it. No trauma drama involved.
Yeah, totally. And there's also this like, there's such a strong point of view out there in the world in general that you only choose something different because something is wrong or bad,
Yes.
But what if you can actually make choices because you know that it can get even greater? Like,
Yes.
with this like gratitude of like, wow, this is pretty cool what I have chosen and created so far,
Yeah.
and what else? Because then, exactly as you say, it doesn't have to be this trauma and drama of like, oh my God, I have to divorce you now because you're terrible and this relationship is bad and da da da, or whatever it is.
Dios mío.
Exactly. Oh, Dios mío. What if instead it can be like, hey, this has been great in many ways, and now it's just time for something different.
Yes. Yes. And I find that in everything. I was considering moving, not because I love where I live. I have a great place, and is there something greater? That kind of thing. But I get that so many people wait for whatever it is in their life, their relationship, where they live, their job, what they're going to do, their body. They wait for it to get bad before
Yes.
they get the idea they could choose something different.
Yeah. And if you wait long enough, it will get bad.
Yes, it will. If you're not paying attention to that little voice, that awareness, that knowing, it's going to get bad.
Yeah.
And then you will do the Dio mio trauma drama kind of thing. So I really love that you brought all of that up. Thank you very much. I would like to hear more about your photography and how you got started, what that meant to you, and where you are now.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a journey. I've always enjoyed taking pictures. My dad gave me my first like real proper camera when I turned 18. So I have always enjoyed taking pictures, but I never considered doing it, as a quote unquote career or whatever you want to call it. But then my ex-husband is a photographer and a great photographer. So I learned a lot from him, just by, being there with him when he was taking pictures, etc. And then it was actually a friend of mine that called me. We were going to meet in Italy at the castle, actually. This is maybe 3 years ago now, almost. He called me and he said, like he was very sure of himself. He said, we're going to be at the castle next week. I need new pictures and I think you should take them. And I was like, okay, fine, sure. But I have never, that was like before then, I had never done like a proper quote unquote like photo session with someone.
Mhm.
I had just been kind of playing around. So he's like, and I'll pay you, of course. I was like, okay. So I'm very grateful for him kind of pushing me into that. So yeah, I took some pictures of him, and then there was maybe 2 or 3 more people during that week that I also took pictures of. Then it's kind of been rolling from there. And I now take pictures of quite a few people, mainly within Access Consciousness. And I also take a lot of pictures of the big classes, which I love, which is so much fun.
You're the
So
official
yeah.
photographer.
Yeah, well, one of them.
One of
There's
them.
many. Yeah. There's many, thankfully, because there's many classes. But yeah, no, it's really, really fun. Photography is such a tool to, you know, facilitate people to show up, to be themselves, and to not be afraid of, you know, there's so much that comes up for people when they are in front of the camera. It's one of those things that a lot of people are like, oh my God, I hate having my picture taken, or oh, I always think I look so ugly in pictures, or whatever it is. But it's so amazing using the tools of Access and actually, you know, being a different space and creating that space with the people in front of the camera to just play and have fun. And yeah, it's really, really fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Well, and you're very good at it too. So
Thank you.
we know that. Yeah.
Thank you. But it's one of those things that I would, you know, in Access, we talk a lot about how the things that you don't really value, the things that you are like, anyone can do this. Because that was my point of view about taking pictures for a long time, that I was like, what? This is, you know, anyone could do this. But then I slowly but surely started realizing that, oh, maybe I am actually good at this. But so it's one of those things that I would probably never had considered doing if it wasn't for that I was actually invited to it. So yeah.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You create that invitation energetically.
Thank you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I guess so. I think also because I enjoy it so much.
Yes. Well, that's
You know?
an energy of, we like to go towards that kind of energy. This person is so joyful and happy with this. Yeah, I want some of that.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
that's the chef I'm going to, but you know,
Exactly.
in this case, that's the photographer I'm going to.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you.
And you brought something up that I think is so critical for joyful happiness and all of that. And that is the whole process of acknowledging your talents and abilities. And we're so taught in this reality that we should just be looking at what's wrong so we can fix it and change it. And you're arrogant and it's not good to say how good you are at something or, you know, like that. And in a lot of ways, acknowledging you and your talents and abilities is a kind of a left turn because it's against what we're taught to do.
Yeah, especially if you don't have any proof that you're good at it. You know, I never went to photography school. I don't have any degrees. I'm actually not very technical. So when there's stuff like going on with my camera, I'm like, I don't always know what to do with the camera, you know? So I think also being willing to just play and not having it, like, it doesn't have to look perfect, you know, like, hey, I can offer a photo session because I have all of this, you know, I can prove to you that I am good at this. It can just, what if it can just be this, hey, this is fun for me, and if it's fun for you, then let's play.
Well, and also that proof creates such a limitation.
Yeah.
Because then you're not being and playing, you're actually proving.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then it becomes also what I've noticed, you know, in general with myself and with a lot of other people, is also when we think that, like, when if I would have to prove that, hey, I am a good photographer, then there's also this need and this like pushy kind of energy of like, I am a photographer, you know, and then we also put we also put this like pressure on that I would put pressure on my photography to like,
Yes.
you have to provide money now, or I have to get successful. I have to do this and this many photo sessions a month. Otherwise, how would I prove that I am a good photographer?
Right.
But if it can just be this, like, I take pictures because it's fun,
Yes.
then it's, you know,
It's
and if I don't do
complete-
it for 3 months, then that doesn't matter.
It's a completely different energy and so fun to play with.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, if anyone wants to get in touch with you or see some samples of your photography or for any other reason, how would they reach you?
They can go to my website, which is
Mhm.
amandaanderson.net. They can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook. Instagram is probably better, but my website is probably the best place.
amandaanderson.net.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Awesome. And if you could say anything to people who are looking to know more what they know, what to do, what would you say? What kinds of things would you tell them?
Oh yeah, wow. I would probably say to find the ways and the strategies that gives you relaxation.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, very
Like,
nice.
allow yourself and prioritize taking care of yourself and your body and create that space of relaxation. Because when we are actually relaxed, that's when we can access what we are actually aware of in a much easier way as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Amanda. This was really enjoyable.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Coming on and inspiring too. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Left Turn. I wonder what embracing left turns could create in your life. What magical possibilities might show up. Remember, when you choose left turns, you are joining a group of the most creative and brilliant people the world has ever known.